Daniel, my son, come on, who's in Lisbon, Portugal. So we're going to be talking about finances. I think as we are in these really uncertain times, it's pretty important that we get finances sorted out. So I'm just waiting for, excuse me, yeah, so some of you folks coming on. So I'm in Townsville, Australia. I'm just sitting down here by the water. It's a bit calmer day today, so I think I can do a live from here. My son will be coming on from Lisbon, Portugal, hopefully here soon. And we just want to talk a little bit about finances. I think in these uncertain times, it's a question everybody's asking about money and how do we live with that. Hey, Christine, I'm trying to read it. Our comments section is so small, so I have to do it with my glasses on instead of off. But it's, yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about finances. I think it's on everybody's heart. We're all looking at it and going, all right, where to from here? What are we going to do financially? And I think you can only talk about what you've earned the right to talk about. For the last 20 something years, I was living a relatively normal life as a business type guy and businesswoman. Stepped out, went to the US and didn't go into business there and lived in the creative community. And I think the creative community, it's a different way of thinking. It's a different paradigm. My son in Lisbon, Portugal is currently discovering some of that. And so I think it's a good thing that we talk about that. Good day, Scott from CTF TV Network. Hello, good to see you. So he was, my son Daniel is an artist, and he's living in pretty frugally like most artists do in Lisbon, Portugal. And he was working in a coffee shop, and they laid him off for just life reasons, I guess. And so he's finding a way to make life happen a little better. And I wanted to talk with him this morning, and we thought, let's do it live. We'll talk about the creative community and how that transfers to all of us. Trying to be regular, I get both my kids. Yeah, well, I'd love to be able to help you, but I'm just not in a position to do that currently. So we're it's funny when you need money. It's so glaring, isn't it? We tend to think that money's going to be our answer. And I've lived around people that have got a lot of money, and money becomes their identity. Money becomes their whole purpose in life. Money becomes their intimacy. Money becomes their way of viewing the world. And that's not necessarily, well, it is something that I think we can live beyond. And even on a lesser level, like we're saying here, when we need money, it's very easy to look at somebody else or something else and say, you need to help me. And I'd love to, but there's just so many needs. Waking up this morning, 2 needs. And so I thought it might be good. Hello, Rita from Holland. Good old Rita. Good to see you. So let's talk about that. I mean, it's debatable. I had somebody yesterday saying, Scott, you've missed it. The economy's not going to collapse. I'll take the trash cans out of the kitchen for you. How about that? So, it doesn't look real great, does it? Yeah, he's like, oh, you've got it wrong. The economy's not going to collapse. The currencies are going to be fine. And I'm like, well, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't believe I am. I think that they have a plan for the digital currency. I was on the IMF and International Monetary Fund's website yesterday and shared some articles out from there. They've fully been working on a digital currency for years. And I think it said there was 195 countries in the world or something, and 190 of them were in the IMF, and then over 100 of them are currently working on central bank digital currencies and have them at various stages. They're learning from each other what works, what doesn't work. These people are getting ready to launch it in a big way. When they launch it, it's not because they're trying to figure it out. They've figured it out. By the time this thing hits, it's done. It's no like, I mean, they'll tweak it and fine tune it, but currently they're doing that. They're learning from each other's countries. And I think what we're going to see is the day where they feel confident that it's ready, we're going to see a currency collapse and then the introduction of the central bank digital currency. One of the things I've been saying is I think they're going to run it parallel to the regular economy, regular currency for a while, because it's what you do. And of course, with inflation, if you've got a central bank digital currency that's stable, and then you have a local currency, the greenback for the US, and that's inflated, then if I go into the supermarket and a loaf of bread's going to cost me $100, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but hyperinflation will do that. But my central bank digital currency, it's only going to cost $1. And people are going to go to the central bank digital currency. So you're going to find that by just natural progression, people are going to see the sense in it, even though I am very concerned about what is in the background of that. It's so easy for them to put it in. So people are like, well, I would never go central bank digital currency. Well, okay, so you're struggling, you're having trouble paying your bills. They come up with a new currency and say, oh, gee, when you operate in this currency, your $100 you have in the bank is going to last you a month, because you're going to pay $1 for a loaf of bread. But if you put that into regular currency, it's going to cost you $50. Then people are going to look and just go, man, I'm just taking a central bank digital currency, and they'll do that. And it's just so easy to convince people of their need to do that. And I think that is the type of thing they do. Then ultimately they'll just crash the currency. They'll just say the US currency is beyond repair, and they'll do away with it. Gerald Salenti, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's quite an interesting character that runs the Trend Institute in the US, and I've enjoyed him over the years because I don't follow him a lot, but I just am amused by some of his things. So he is a political atheist, he calls himself. So he doesn't believe in the left or the right. He thinks they're all corrupt, and puts some explicitories on the end of that. And he then goes on to say that we basically have to take responsibility for ourselves. And he said, all I do in my Trends Institute is I study trends. I don't have opinions, I study trends. And when I look at the trends, I make educated guesses, educated thoughts. I give educated thoughts on where I think this is all going. It was very interesting. I put the video up where he's now just come out and said, I think we're going to see dirty cash for digital trash. He said, we're going to see that this year in 2023, the replacement of dirty dollars with digital trash. So we're going to see the digital currency come in. And to me, I see Gerald Salenti as a very educated man, very able to make some good guesses on that. So he's saying it. I agree with him. And I think we do well to start to prepare for that. So how do we prepare? What are some of the things we do to make sure that we're in a good place? And I think the natural progression that happens in all of us is we start to say, well, I need to, if you've got money or you have assets, looking, saying, how can I get this into a safe place? And I think we have to look at the character of government, what they do. We've got a pretty good historical track record of what government will do. In the US, after the Second World War, they outlawed gold, and everyone had to turn their gold in. And of course, you'd say, well, that's outrageous. I'm not turning my gold in. What that means is you can't trade in gold. You can't go and give your gold anywhere. You can't use your gold. You have to do something. You have to give it in. People are like, well, I don't want to give my gold in. Then it comes back with, well, if you want a currency, if you want an economy, you will give your gold. So I think one of the best things is not to go where the mainstream is going, because as the economies collapse, if everybody's in, say, Bitcoin, for instance, they'll take Bitcoin and use it. They'll outlaw it. They'll demand everybody hands it in. They'll whatever. There's no way the government is going to allow an economy within an economy, something that's functioning great. People are trading coconuts. If coconuts become the currency and everybody's trading in coconuts and it's the mainstream, they'll stop it, because they don't have control of that. And how does government function? How does it pay its bills if everybody's trading coconuts on the side of without their control? So they will bring in control. Canned food and water, and know where your closest river is. Get water filtration pills. Faith in Jesus. Well, a good day. I'm sorry. Is it Donna? I'm having trouble. The writing on my screen is so small, it takes me a little bit to see it. But, I want to address that in a minute about being a prepper, but I'm just want to finish this line of thought with the government. A government will not allow another culture, another economy within their economy, especially if it becomes the status quo where everybody's going. They'll sit on it. So I think it's very important that we become creative and we live in a God economy, let's call it that, an economy where we see the creative, we know the creative, and we're walking in the creative. And each day is different in the creative. Now, when I first started to live this 20 years ago, the natural thought I had was that I'll prep. I'll buy chickens, and I think I love my chicken story. I went to buy some little chicks, and I was going to grow them up, and I didn't know the first thing about chickens. I know food goes in one end and something else comes out the other that we get to eat. And I just figured that, whatever. If you don't know chickens, it's not as simple as that, I guess. So anyway, I went and bought with my kids 12 chickens. And the lady that we bought them off of, the chicks, guaranteed me, these chicks are probably no roosters in here. And I mean, I must have had sucker written across the top of my head, glowing sucker. And so I buy 12, 13, 12 of them, I think it was, chicks, and took them home. And as those things grew up, I ended up with 11 roosters. So I had 11 roosters in one hen, and I think the hen died in the end. So, and the first morning that, what do you do with 11 roosters? That's a lot of testosterone. So I woke up in the morning, and the first morning I heard a rooster clearing his throat. That was the last day the roosters were with me. I gave them away for the Americans. I put them on Craigslist, and some Puerto Ricans or somebody came around and grabbed them. I'm probably using cockfights or something, whatever they were doing. I didn't want to know. I just wanted them gone. So my point is, we can prep. It is important to prep. It is important to get some, I think, some things that we feel to do, but not to do it out of fear. If you start prepping out of fear, you're going to make a mistake. I know somebody that put food underneath their house in a big metal cabinet, and they had chickpeas and rice and things like that they'd stored under there. And what happened was the bottom of the container rusted, and it fell through onto the ground in their basement. And when they come to the food, they open it up, it's all just rotten. And so there's so many things can happen. And the Bible talks about laying up treasures for ourselves in heaven or on earth. It says on earth rust and moth will come in and destroy. And I think laying up a treasure in heaven, we go, well, how do I do that? Now, I know people talk about your soul, and that's important, but that's an individual journey for many people. We won't get too far into that now, but one of these days we will. But I think what's important is to follow the freedom, and I think in you and I, there's a freedom. We all have fear. I have fear of what's coming, or gee, what's going to happen. But living outside of fear and living in that freedom, I know that inside of me, there's the answer. I don't do the answer. I am the answer when I'm at my peace with my God. And so the Bible says you'll never see the righteous begging bread. I don't believe we ever have to beg. I think there's a community of people which I would refer to in a biblical word in Greek is koinonia, which is a fellowship which is caring. I'm not preaching today, but I'm just going to use the New Testament of some of this because I think it really lays it out well. So in Acts, they have this thing that happens in the beginning of the book of Acts in the Bible where people are coming, they're giving their food, they're giving their land, they're giving their houses, and it's being distributed to any that have need. And then they have, they're going to each other's houses and eating, and every night, it's a really precious dynamic that religion looks at that thing when they read the Bible and they go, well, we have to replicate that, and that's just trash. When you replicate, you can't replicate it. You end up with a commune, and the commune ends up coming apart because everybody gets mad at everybody because somebody ate more beans than the other guy. Whatever, it falls apart. But there's a spirit there that is showing us that when you're in that spirit of life, when you're in the spirit of freedom, we saw that in the camps here, in Epic in Australia, the Beehive in New Zealand, the Trucker Convoy in Canada, Hagerstown in the US. I mean, we've seen the manifestation of what I would call the Book of Acts in the Bible, all things counted common. And I know here in Epic, where I was part of that one, there were people giving haircuts for just out to free to each other just because they could. There was food being given. There was money being given. And the community spirit that was there was absolutely astounding. And from what I know of Hagerstown, the same thing. From what I know of the Beehive in New Zealand, from the Trucker Convoy in Canada, it was all the same sort of thing. And that's a beautiful movement of a freedom spirit in each of us, where first and foremost we're free of the I need to use you, I need to get something from you, I have a need. We all have needs, and if you focus on your needs, you'll sink. If you focus on your needs, you'll become depressed because one day you'll have it, the next day you won't. So as we focus on those things and we try to hold on to those things, it's not always an easy task. So I think in letting go of our control, where we start to say, I'm going to take a journey of freedom. I'm going to allow freedom people to be around me that are in a spirit of freedom, not something where people are saying, do a deal with me, but where they're saying, let's, when you meet someone, you just feel like you've known them forever. And that person, you're going out for a coffee and met this guy and just, oh, wow, I haven't seen you in years, or I just met this man or this woman or whoever. And you're out there and I want to buy you a coffee today. I want to buy you lunch. Come on, let's have lunch. And we've all been there. You just feel like you've known them forever. There's that connection. And those people are not psychopathic in their attitude. They're not there to try to use you. They're there to just take a journey, to enjoy you, to be with you. And that's the sort of people that it's, I think, important really right now that you allow those sort of people to be around your life. Don't, obviously, we have to stay calm in that because it's easy to look at somebody and think, well, gee, I need to use them. One of the guys who's been closest to my life for the last 20 years on this journey was, he's a multimillionaire. I was living some days of that, not knowing where things were going to come from. Where's the next meal? Where's the next, how am I going to pay my rent? There were times where it was like that. And I, you naturally think, well, gee, I could ask this man, sorry, it's starting to rain. It will pass quickly because I can see sun out there, but I have a tin roof above me, so it's going to get a little noisy, but yeah, I'll talk louder. So I could have looked at this man and just gone, well, he's my source. His name's John. And I could have looked and gone, well, John, I need some money. And I never did. And John and I lived in the freedom and the life of a spiritual community. He I guess I blessed him in spiritual, not advice, I don't like that word, but just spiritual talk. There you go. As we fellowship together and we talk, his businesses boomed. He made money, and but he blessed me in just who he was, in the spirit of who he was, to keep going and to understand that no man was my source, but I can do this in myself. And I'm going to just read a comment here. Sorry. Old houses usually don't have a walk-in pantry. We converted our laundry into a walk-in pantry so we can safely store for more food. You put your laundry outside your car. Yeah. 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 I love that. Again, it's creative ideas, and we have to live in the creative ideas. What you're feeling to do, you need to do. I'm getting rain on my glasses. I'm starting to not be able to read things, but hard enough as it is. Hey, Debbie, that's brilliant. If you've got to look at the creative, you have to look in your life and say, what do I have in my hand? And I like it in there's a biblical story about I think it was Elijah came to a woman who was it was a famine in the land, and she was going to eat her last meal. The Bible says she was preparing to eat her last meal and die with her son, and no hope. And he comes walking out of the woods and out of the wilderness and says, I'm paraphrasing, make me a meal with that last little bit of oil and flour that you have, and feed me, and what's left you can have. And when you think about it, it's a really arrogant thing to say as a man. I mean, to walk in, to take a woman's last meal and her son's last meal and say, yeah, that's great, give it to me. And the woman does it. And that's what I thought was great. She was a shrewd woman. She understood an opportunity. She understood that this is, what's the point? I'm going to hold on to a piece of bread for, a day, but I'm going to die tomorrow anyway, no food. So I'll take the chance. And she fed him, and I think the story was after that the flour never ran out and the oil never stopped. And I think that's a principle right there. When we get in a lot of need, it's very easy to become self-focused. What about me? I'm in trouble. I need help. And when we do that, we don't really see the answer. We don't really see that we are the answer. We are looking for somebody else to be our answer. We're looking for somebody else to fulfill our need. And like I said, I was able to have John as a close friend because as a millionaire, when I was in tough times, because I never saw him as an opportunity for money. I didn't see him as my cash cow. I love the intimacy, the connection of spirit with him, where we talked things together. We just bounced around the creative community. So as you've mentioned, converting your pantry and putting food in there, that's a brilliant idea. And I do think we should do things to relieve the pressure. So if you're thinking about that sort of pantry, a vegetable garden, chickens, if those things that you feel that you want to do or you can do, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, but I think to see that as your ongoing source forever is probably not a good idea, because chickens die and you say, well, I'll breed. No, something could happen and you lose it. So I think the most important thing first and foremost is ourself, to be a place in ourselves where we understand we're loved. Now we can say, well, I don't have anybody in my life to love me. Well, I don't. I'm single. I don't have that relationship. But I mean, there's always hope. But I think it's knowing that spiritual flow in God, where I know inside of me that my God loves me. I know that he cares for me. I know that things are going to be okay in my life. I'm going to move this a little closer because the wind is coming and just don't want to find that happy bit. But we to know yourself, and I know that God loves me. So how do I know he's real? I know because I feel his love. I know because I see his provision. I know because of the people he brings around my life that I don't deserve to have around my life. People that are just good people who don't love me for what I give them or what I get from them. They just love me because There is no reason. And I've often looked at some of those people and gone, why are you here? I don't do anything for you. I don't give anything for you. I don't feel worthy of you. And it's kind of troubling sometimes, some of the people that come around your life, and in a good way. And I think that's what's important is that we allow those people to be in our lives and around our lives, that they show us that there's a God. They show us that there's love because they love us for no reason. And I think today you'll have people around your life that are there and you're like, why are you here? I'm messed up. I'm hurting. What do you want from me? And I always get a kick out of that. I am fairly, I feel like in myself connected spiritually. So with God, with my creator. So a lot of people that come around my life, I am pretty quick at picking up motive, pretty quick at picking up. Somebody told me I'm a Sigma empath, whatever that means. I'm not really big into titles, but where I'm going with this is to say that for me, I really enjoy having people of good spirit around my life. And as those people come around my life, some of them get troubled. Like, why is Scott here? What does he want from me? What is he doing? And I don't have any motive other than to say, I want your heart. I want to fellowship with you and see if you're able to walk in that. And that's the fellowship that'll protect you. That's the spirit of where things go and are. And I'm saying that to tell you that you have people around your life like that. You can look at them and say, I don't know why you're here. You're not really, I don't get anything from you. You don't get anything from me. Maybe you do. I mean, there's always going to be things, right? But it's not the underlying motivation of why we're in each other's life. They're the people to have around your life. They're the people to have there because when things go bad as they're going to, they're going to take care of you. And I'll put my glasses back on. Looks like the rain's settled down. So anybody got a comment? Put it in there, a question, a thought, put it on, and let's have a little fellowship on that. So again, prepare, creative community. So in your creative community, what are the ideas in you? What are the thoughts in you? What are the things coming up in you to do? And it might look it probably will look completely different to what others are doing. Others will be, all going one direction. You may really feel to go the other, and go with that, prepare that, and just follow that creative. And I think for some of you, some of us, but some listening, you might need to hear that because you've done things in the past and perhaps failed and kind of gone, I don't have the confidence to do that again. Step out. I always say, follow the peace. If there's a peace inside of you, not your mind's always going to be off on what if this happens and the pros and the cons and that'll drive you crazy. I don't run my life through the pros and cons. I mean, I'm there. I pay attention to that, but deeper down inside of you, where is the peace taking you? And maybe that peace is telling you to start this business, or that peace is telling you to be with that person or invite that person to be part of your life. Then follow that. And as you follow that, maybe some understanding will come to that. And I think that's where I would like to encourage everybody. I was hoping to hear from my son, and I've been filling in a lot of talk while I'm waiting for him to come on, and hasn't done that yet. So I'm not really sorry. I'm not really able to bring him on by the looks of it. So he's in Lisbon, Portugal, and going through some financial challenges. And we were going to talk about finances with him and just how to flow in the spirit of that. I'm going to reiterate something here that I think as the globalists, the World Economic Forum, these type of people are preparing central bank digital currencies. I was on the IMF website. They very much are preparing that for years. They said they are learning from each other. 195 countries are in the IMF, or in the world, sorry. They said 5 are not in the IMF, so there's 190 countries in the IMF. of that, over 100 of them have pilots or CBDCs at various stages. So they are going to bring in central bank digital currencies. They are going to allow our cash to collapse. And if you don't think that, that's great. Hopefully they don't, but I think they will. I think we do well as they are preparing, that we prepare to say, okay, how am I going to approach this? The problem with the central bank digital currency is what we're seeing in China. They, attach social credit score to that, which is also being developed. They are attaching your health certificate to that. Hello, Debbie. I've figured out how to get comments here, so a little bit bigger, so I'm able to see it a bit better. I think, and what will happen with that is they will ultimately bring in the control, and you know full well that when government, when they get control, they use control. That's just people. We've all been in a place where you've got somebody over or under or around your life who is a control freak. When they're a control freak, if you give them control, there's the problem. And I remember somebody saying to me once, "Oh, that person's a controller," and I'm like, "Well, they're actually not for me, because I don't give them the control. I know who I am. I don't need them. I don't need them to be doing this. And so if they walk away, they walk away." And so control's only a threat when you allow yourself to be controlled. And so I think we are seeing the preparation of these CBDCs by the IMF. And think about it, they were also, I was reading on their website how they're talking about all these countries that owe them money, and when you owe money to the IMF, they start telling you the changes that you need to make in your country, or they won't give you money. So I think that's in the background. So as they've developed CBDCs, the IMF is going to come along to a country that says, well, we're in financial trouble. COVID's done this to us. We need some more money. And they're going to say, absolutely, happy to oblige, but you're going to have to take a CBDC, or you're going to have a pilot in place that we can see you're going to go digital currency. And so the leaders of the country are going to get some blowback from the people that don't want CBDCs. But the IMF is going to say, well, you're going to take the CBDC, or your economy is going to collapse. And they'll do it. They'll do it, and it'll be forced on the people. Here in Australia, we're already seeing it. I'm in Townsville, Australia, in a little, relatively small part of the world, and in the shopping mall, you might have seen the video. They've got a digital driver's license and digital ID stand, so that there are 3 people working that, the government, with, if you sign up for a CBDC, or sorry, for a digital ID, they'll give you a free Frisbee and a squishy ball. I mean, oh, that's great. I'll sign away my, think about that, the years to come when your social credit score is not good enough for you to put your child in school, in a good school that you want to put it into, and you're going to look back and go, how did I get in this position? And they go, well, I got a squishy ball. When I gave away my freedom, I got a Frisbee and a squishy ball. The only protection against CBDC stablecoin is to be debt free and to have some level of self-sufficiency. Also, you need to say no. Yeah, there's some good truth to that, Craig. I think to be debt free, you're always in a good position. But there's a lot of people that aren't, and they're not likely to be anytime soon. So I think you have to then look at, okay, how does that play out in my life? Yes, Scott, I do think it collapse. I think we're going to see it collapse. But let's talk about debt. If you have a massive amount of debt, it's a good idea to start to think about what would the world look like without that. I think here in Australia, we have this thing called Centrelink, which is like your social security in the US. And what they do is people can go on benefits. We don't have food stamps, but it would be the equivalent of food stamps here. They actually give you money every week, and a good amount of for a lot of people. I'm not on that, but people are. So they will, I think what Centrelink will do is, as things get tough, people can't make their payments on their homes, people can't buy their groceries, they'll be on Centrelink, because that's the natural thing that Australians do. They go onto Centrelink, and I think Centrelink then starts to do things like and again, so Centrelink is like your social part of the government to take care of people. they'll come and say, sure, we'll take care of you. And in fact, we'll pay your mortgage. We'll take your mortgage over and you'll be on Centrelink, but you'll work for us. And as you work for us, you'll do as we say. So Centrelink here does things like they did a bowel test they wanted people to have, and they sent out a kit to say you have to do your bowel test. Now, they didn't mandate it, but they can. Vaccines, they did. They put vaccines into Centrelink and said, if you don't get a vaccine, we're going to cut your benefits. And so ultimately, you can get a doctor that's on Centrelink. His surgery went bad and he's gone on Centrelink, and now he wants to job as a doctor. But Centrelink might come along and say, well, we actually need you to sweep streets. Well, but I'm a qualified doctor. And yeah, well, right now there's no jobs for qualified doctors, so you'll sweep the streets. Well, I'm not going to sweep the streets. They said, that's fine. Then you're not going to get our benefits. And, well, that's outrageous. Yeah. Tell someone who cares. The government doesn't care. They say, well, we're helping you. We know what's best for you. It is communism, Scott. You're right. And but they've made it more socially acceptable. And digging ditches, that's right. You might have a jolly aeronautical engineer digging ditches because he can't get a job in that. If he says no, they come along and say, well, we're carrying the mortgage on your home. They're not doing this yet, but I believe this is where it's headed. I know they're buying a lot of homes. I'll say we're carrying the mortgage. We've nationalized the debt. So, think about it. A subprime meltdown in the US, really a lot of the government carried a lot of the debt on the homes, and we saw short sales that happened with banks, and it was all absorbed into the system of banking and government. We're going to see the same around the world, where I believe debt, people that are in debt will be faced with, I walk away and I'm a happy person because I have freedom, or I sign my freedom to the government because I'm in so much debt. They've taken the debt on my home and told me that I can banking system, and tell me that I can be on benefits, and I just have to do as I'm told. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. So I think if you're in a lot of debt, it's probably a good idea to have a plan of that, to work, like I said earlier, to work on yourself, on your inner peace of that. How am I going to walk forward if things go bad? What if I get kicked out? Now, we've got video on here from Venezuela. My son just texted from Portugal. He should be on shortly. So as in Venezuela, what happened was people couldn't pay for their homes. They, welcome to a kangaroo court. You're not kidding. And they're already doing that, aren't they? So, but I think what will happen is a lot of families, I was saying, in Venezuela, you'll end up with your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, all living in one home. So everybody's pooling their resources into one home. I think it's a great idea right now to look at options for that, because you are more than likely, if you're a stable influence and you are debt-free, it's not so you can just survive. You're going to have to help others. You're going to end up with people in your family, your friends, others that are massively in debt and lose it. They're going to come to you and ask for help. Welfare recipients will be targeted, Craig says, because welfare would be all about compliance or zero money. You are 100% correct, Craig. And that's how they're going to do it, because hungry people, desperate people, do desperate things. And I don't know if you've ever been in a place where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. I have, and many years ago. And I wasn't in a dangerous position, but just not knowing. And I believe I walked that for this time. And one of the things you find is when you're hungry and you don't know where your next meal's coming from, all you're thinking about is your belly. Been there, done that with the family. Well, you might need to get ready for it again, Scott, because you might probably going to find that's what's going to happen. I like to say God puts light in dark places. He doesn't put light with other lights. And I think a lot of freedom people, like some of you that are watching, you're free. You've seen when others around you haven't seen. But you're going to be an answer. You're going to be someone who's going to be able to reach back and help people that would be desperate. there's people that lose their needs. They don't know where their next, pardon me, meal's coming from, and become suicidal. I mean, I wasn't that way, but I know people that have been that way. And so again, your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health. It's important that you take responsibility for that in yourself, and don't um, have somebody else just fulfill that needs. I'll be a little personal. I don't have a woman in my life right now. Uh, I'm on that journey. Been on that journey. It's, to me, I think the best relationships to have, which I think are what we need to build around our lives. Somebody that looks at you and says, okay, we all have needs. I need something from you, but I don't want to be needed. I don't want someone to want me because they need me. I want somebody to be with me because they look at me and say, I'm actually okay. I don't really need you, but gee, I'd really like to make room for you in my life. I don't need somebody. I'm a very strong individual, so it's easy for me to just get through and do things. But I look at a life and I say, I would like to make room for that person in my life. Uh, they will meet needs and I will meet their needs, but that's not the motivating thing. And I think that's community too, in what you're doing with your life, is looking and saying, where's this going? Uh, who are the people around my life? Are they there because they're needy? If they are, I need to set boundaries. So I think the debt, if you're in debt, it's a good idea to start addressing that, looking at that and saying, that's an area they're going to control me with. They're going to try to get me on welfare. If I can't make payments, they will nationalize my mortgage. They will nationalize my debt with the banks. It's nice to spend life with a love. Nah, Cindy, it really is. Like, my dad used to say, there's only one thing worse than not being married, and that's being married to the wrong person. So I'm on a journey with that. I am just being calm with that. When we pray with our souls. It's the one thing we can control. I I think I don't think we can control anything. I think control is an illusion. If you think you have control of your life, you're probably in some great self-deception. No greater lies than the ones we tell ourselves. I think I think life is a gift, and when we let go and we allow that gift, it happens a lot better. Let's see what this says from Craig here. Mortgage stress will be the next problem as interest rates rise. 8% is now the worst. 18% 40 years ago. This will probably lead to a property crash and bankruptcy. I agree. They keep saying, oh, inflation's reached its peak. It's turning around. No, inflation's only just getting started. How can it have reached its peak? I have an interview on there from Brazil where he said for years the government lied. Oh, it's all manageable. It's at 7% inflation when it was really at about 20% inflation. He said eventually it just broke loose, went into a free fall. The Cruzario in Brazil, they couldn't stop it hyperinflating, and they ended up collapsing it overnight and bringing in the real. And people complained, like, why, we don't want this. You took all our money. So, people had $1 million in the bank. You had $10 in the bank, gone. If it was a Cruzario, gone. So you took my money, and the government said, yeah, we did. Thank you. You want an economy? So I'm not trying to start a run on banks, but if you've got cash in the bank, you need to address. I believe we should address that. Maybe some thoughts on that would be to consider getting some of that out and doing things with it. Like, to me, it's no point in leaving it in currency. I noticed they're having a lot of financial trouble in Pakistan, and people are saying, well, they're buying the US dollar. I'm like, that's jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. Some of them are trying to get gold. You've got to be true to yourself. You do. Be true to yourself. But look and say, okay, if I have significant money, have a workable amount of money in the bank is a suggestion I'm having, not advice. It's a suggestion. But other money that's above and beyond that, get it out and start to use it for something that generates. Um, I think our soul, just to finish off on that soul one, is it is important that our soul is at peace. I think freedom is an invitation to that. It's a divine invitation to that. And as the more we follow that freedom, the more peace we have, and the more peace we can operate and flow in, and then it will bring people in, because like attracts like. So if I have freedom, I will attract others that are in freedom, and then I follow the peace. I have I got a phone call yesterday from a man who's looking at what to do with money, and he's talking about buying a piece of land here in Australia and having like container type homes on there that people can store. So he's not starting a trailer park, but he's sort of saying it's a rallying point if things go bad, where people, if they lose the internet, they lose their ability to do things, they can go to this point. They have a a little unit there that they can be in while they catch their breath and figure where to from here. And so he was sort of asking about that. He's asked me to come and look at the property with him, and he said he has the skill. He was a builder. He has the skill to fit some of these things out. And he thought, and it's not coming from a motive of making money. It's coming from a motive of preparing and helping others of like spirit that are maybe in a home, but they want to have something parked somewhere just in case, peace of mind for them. And good, that's a great idea. It's not my idea, it's his idea, and I like just I love seeing people reach the fullness of their potential. Maybe you have an idea, you have some thoughts on what you could be doing or should be doing. Hey, you're welcome to send it along. I'm no expert on some of those things, but sometimes just to talk to someone that believes in you, talk to someone who's not going to be critical of what you're saying, somebody that understands where you're trying to go with that. You might ask some hard questions and might just give some good encouragements. And that's the community that I'm talking about, the creative community. You need to be in that. I know someone who potentially needs some help making a living. I've given thought to that. I've given thought to how I could help them, how I can see them involved in their own way of standing on their own 2 feet. Do I want them dependent on me? It doesn't bother me either way, but I think it's better when people are able to stand on their own 2 feet. And then, like I've said, say, well, I want you in my life, Scott, because I choose you. I choose your spirit, not because you're, need anything from me particularly, even though I'll give things to you. So, to me, that's a beautiful journey. It's a journey that involves patience because people need time. They need time to process life, process where you're coming from in life. When I turn up in someone's life and I don't really have a motive of needing something from them, I just think they're really a beautiful individual that we could journey really great together. And like I've said, that's what you need. Those people are around your life. If you happen to get a partner, husband or a wife who's on that, then you've got a bonus. I love what the Bible says. If one puts 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. And I think to have that right person in your life who you're intimately involved with, who's on that journey, man, there's so much you can do to just dream that and to walk that and to be that. It's limitless, but it's letting go of the control and the fear, because fear is what they use. And another one here, I'm using cash for extra food and growing more food at home. I love that. The next level is I want silver and gold rounds for a real currency that will hold value despite the high inflating of the fiat currency. I think that's wisdom, Craig. I do think they're not going to allow gold, like the US in the Second World War. They're not going to allow gold to be a mainstream. way of trading. It'll be black market. Um, it won't be an approved or sanctioned way the government will allow. Same with Bitcoin. A lot of people have got into Bitcoin and they're convinced that Bitcoin's going to be their answer because it's unregulated. Well, my answer to that is okay. So let me think here. You think that this government who's about to is money hungry and greedy is going to allow everybody to trade in Bitcoin outside of their main currency? And because their currencies collapsed, but Bitcoiners are all doing really, really good. If you think that, you're delusional. The government, if they see Bitcoin as where everybody's gone and being where the main gist of provision is for people, they're coming after it. Oh, you can't. It's not regulated. Oh, yeah. I'll find a way. Trust me. That's what government are all about. And they will find a way. And it's hell hath no fury like the government's gone. And they'll come after that. So I think it's important to be creative. I love what you're saying there, Craig. You're taking responsibility for your life is what I'm hearing. So you're looking and saying, look, I'm not just sitting here, I get out of the victim thing. Oh, the government, the terrible government, they're bastards. They've done this, they've done that. Seagull. It's like, get over it. Yeah, they're going to rip you blind. They'll rape you, they'll destroy you, and they'll turn around and kick you while you're down. They don't care. If you want them to care, you're delusional. And so I love what you're doing, Craig, where you're stopping and saying, that's a man. I'm taking responsibility for my life and those that I love. They may not want what I'm doing, but I'm doing it and they'll have the choice. And so to now rise up and say, yep, government's stupid. And that's why I don't go along with, I don't get involved with a lot of the noise that's going on around this. Bitcoin can easily be regulated. Canadian truckers had their Bitcoin wallets frozen. There you go. Plus, the internet can be shut down. And you know what? The World Economic Forum's already said we're going to see a global shutdown of the internet. They're already warning us they're going to do that. The internet is going to get locked off. And do we panic about that? No. Some people see problems, some people see solutions. And I thank God I'm at that point in my life, I see solutions. So if somebody comes up with a problem, I actually love it. I love problems because I find a way to get it to do it. And that's where we're at. The government is presenting us with some amazing problems, but that's a great opportunity for solutions. Like this friend of mine who I just told you, who's looking at buying a chunk of land and putting things on that land to help people. And I love it. I suggested to him, do it around the Gold Coast, up in Queensland. So he's going to do that. If he does that, they will we'll video things there and put out flooding the market. So expand a bit on that, can you, Scott? Flooding the market with, talk so much I don't even remember what I've said, but I want to just get back onto that one with Craig. Craig, it is brilliant to see people taking responsibility. And I think the energy that a lot of people are giving into protesting and the energy they're giving to, just trying to fight causes, that they're just a distraction. And some of those causes are vitally important. Some of them need to be addressed. But if you're giving too much energy to that, what you're not doing is understanding that you're being raped. And, economically, spiritually, financially, the government is ripping you blind. And some people seem to mistaken rape for love, and it's not. It's they are being abused. They are allowing themselves to be abused, and it's giving them importance. It's giving them the feeling of they're achieving something, by fighting a cause. Again, it's a balance. I know that causes need to be addressed, they need to be fought, but if that becomes your life, then it's raping you, and you're allowing it to rape you. I think any relationship we get into that is abusive, we can get mad at the person that's abusing us, but the reality is we put ourselves there to be abused. And my products, 5 to 7 of them, and some magnets involved. Okay, I'm not really can't really comment on that one too much, Scott. But if you've got products you think are helping people, then that's great. Share links if it's something that is other people can see and value in. I'll put it up on the top of my 2 Free Scott. There's a store. I actually don't think I've sold anything in it. I've never looked. Actually, I might be a millionaire. I've never looked. It's just there. I was hoping to bring legitimacy from a bit more legitimacy to Facebook and to show people some of the products there. One of the things that's on there is a bag. A lady had contacted and said, "What do I do? I live in an apartment. I don't know where, but." So I found these bags that you can grow potatoes in, and it had handles and a little door where you can open it up and you can get the potatoes out. And well, that was a brilliant idea. So I found whoever was selling that and asked them if I could be a rep for that and put it out there. And yeah, I'm a rep for that. And like I said, I have no clue if I've sold one. I've never logged on their website and seen if I've made any money on it. It's not there for that. So it's just there to be a blessing to people. I've got my books. I've written 3 books, but one of them that's on there is that Vegetable Garden, Faith and a Corvette, which is where I talk about coming out of religion and into the spirit. And when you read the book, it's funny. People read it and they're like, they're reading the trauma in it, or they're reading the I could never do that, and I'm like, it's like, no, you're missing the point of the book. The book's saying this is someone who was in control with religion, coming out of that and into the freedom of the spirit. And yeah, it was traumatic, but I love it. I love it. I love living this way. I love living in creative community. Each day, it's just a beautiful day. I could not be trapped in doing it the way the normal goes. It's just not where I'm at. But as you start to allow creative community and people of creative community around you, it's beautiful. It's astounding, and we're already living that. That creative community, I live in that. I have people that are in that here and around the world, in the US, in Portugal. My son in Portugal is coming in this in a big way, and he was born in that. He's 23 years old, and I've been doing this since my journey started September '99. So he was born in it, and it's good to see that he's managing to do it. All proceeds go to the book. Yeah, okay. My book, Vegetable Garden, Faith and Corvette. I don't think there is any proceeds. You can download that for free. I think it's on the Global Freedom Movement. If you can't, send me a message. I'll send it to you for free. If you want to buy it, it's on Amazon, Lulu, places like that. But I don't even log in to see if it's ever sold. That book, don't care. don't care. So yeah. Any other little thoughts here that anyone wants to bring on? My son hasn't arrived in this thing yet, but maybe he's not going to. He's probably sending me a message. Sorry, let me check here. Flat battery on his phone. That'll do that. So yeah, anyway, just an encouragement. Keep preparing. Keep being creative in that. Keep connecting in yourself. Realize you're loved. You're loved by a creator of the universe. And hey, Daniel, you're watching. That's good. I'll get Daniel on another time. Says you've joined. Oh, let me see. Maybe, Daniel, maybe. Sorry, folks, trying to bring my son on here. I have no clue how to bring you in, Daniel. Oh, it does say you've joined, I think. So, sorry, folks. The screen's so small on my phone. I don't know. It's showing an icon for you, Daniel, but you're not. I'm not hearing you or seeing. So we might just do that another time. It's looks like the rain's coming in again, so I'll give you a quick view of where I am. So couple of guys here sitting in out of the rain, listening to my talking. So it's a magnetic island. There's an island out there, but the rain's just coming in waves. It's, yeah, it's lovely, lovely, lovely spot to be. Hey, stay safe, stay strong. We'll come on again soon. We can do some more talk on this. Oh, this video will be up anyway, so people can watch it. Grab out of there what they need to grab out of it. God bless you. Freedom family. Love your spirit.